Welcome. Tonight, we are going to set aside the worries of the day and step into a quiet, hidden world. A world defined by what we call living in light. It is a journey into the shadows, but it is not a dark journey. Instead, it is one filled with soft glows, rhythmic pulses, and the gentle secrets of nature. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing on the edge of a vast open meadow on a warm summer evening. The sun has been gone for an hour, and the sky has transitioned from a dusty orange to a deep velvety indigo. The air is perfectly still, heavy and sweet with the scent of damp earth and crushed grass. There is no wind, only the distant rhythmic hum of crickets. A sound so steady it begins to feel like silence itself. You can feel the coolness of the grass against your feet, and the world feels vast, safe, and incredibly peaceful. As you stand there in your mind's eye, I invite you to bring that same stillness to your own space. If you need to, take a moment now to adjust your pillows. Find the spot where your neck feels most supported. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel the gentle weight of your blankets pressing down on you, grounding you. Together, let's take a very slow, deep breath in, and then let it out even more slowly. There is no rush. Everything we are going to talk about tonight is patient. If you find that these nightly journeys help you drift off or find a moment of calm in a busy world, you're always welcome to subscribe and join our community. It is a simple way to ensure we can continue these quiet explorations together whenever you feel the need for a little extra peace. In our modern lives, we are surrounded by light that we create. We flip a switch and a wire glows white hot inside a glass bulb. We look at screens that vibrate with artificial colors, but out there, in the meadow, or deep beneath the waves of the ocean, there is a different kind of light. It is a light that doesn't burn. It doesn't hum. It is biological, a spark of life that emerges from the darkness itself. This is bioluminescence, and as we move deeper into the night, we will discover how nature turns chemistry into a soft, glowing embrace. It is a phenomenon that bridges the gap between the living world and the stars above. To understand it, we must first understand what this light actually is and why it feels so different from the lamps and lanterns in our homes. That soft, glowing embrace is what scientists often call cold light. It is a beautiful, evocative term that describes something truly remarkable. When we think of light in our everyday lives, we almost instinctively think of heat. We think of the sun warming our skin on a bright afternoon, or the way a candle flame flickers with a gentle, toasted warmth. Even the old light bulbs in our homes, the ones we grew up with, would become so hot that you couldn't touch them after they had been on for a few minutes. In those cases, light is essentially a byproduct of heat. It is a beautiful waste of energy, where much of the power is lost to the air as warmth. But bioluminescence is different. It is one of nature's most efficient miracles. When a firefly flashes in the tall grass near your feet, or a jellyfish pulses in the dark silence of the deep sea, they are achieving something our best engineers still struggle to replicate perfectly. In the world of living light, nearly all the energy used is converted directly into illumination. While a traditional incandescent bulb might convert only 10% of its energy into light, wasted the other 90% as heat. A bioluminescent organism is often 90 to 100% efficient. If you were to reach out in your mind and gently cup a glowing firefly in your hands, you wouldn't feel even a flicker of warmth from its light organ. It remains perfectly cool, a silent spark that doesn't sear or burn. It is a light that exists purely to be seen, not to be felt as temperature. If a firefly were as inefficient as our human-made bulbs, the heat it produced would be so intense that the tiny insect simply wouldn't survive the reaction. But instead, it carries its lantern with a quiet, effortless grace. For most of human history, light has meant fire. It has meant the crackling of dry wood in a hearth, the smell of wood smoke, and the dancing, unpredictable shadows cast by a flame. Fire is hungry. It consumes and it destroys as it gives off its glow. But the light we are exploring tonight is born from a different source entirely. It is born from chemistry. It is a silent, internal process that doesn't need to consume oxygen in a roar of heat. It is as if these creatures have found a way to bottle the silver essence of the moon and carry it within their own bodies. As you lie there, feeling the stillness of your own room, imagine the difference between a roaring bonfire and the soft, steady glow of a single moss-covered stone or a tiny drifting plankton. One is loud and demanding, the other is patient and calm. This chemical light doesn't flicker with the wind. It glows with the steady rhythm of life itself. To understand how a living creature can create this brilliance without a single spark of fire, we have to look closer at the delicate ingredients they carry inside them. Just as a painter requires a very specific blend of pigment and oil to create a masterpiece, nature has its own precise recipe for making the darkness shine. It is a recipe that relies on a perfect, silent partnership between two very special substances. At the very heart of this living glow, within the tiny cells of a firefly, or the translucent body of a deep-sea jellyfish, there are two primary ingredients working in perfect, silent harmony. They carry names that sound almost like ancient poetry: luciferin and luciferase. Luciferin is the molecule that actually produces the light. Its name comes from the Latin word lucifer, which simply means light bringer. In its resting state, it is quiet and still, holding its potential within itself like a secret. It is a tiny organic pigment, a reservoir of stored energy, waiting for the right moment to be released. But it cannot shine on its own. It needs a companion to help it unlock its brilliance. That companion is an enzyme called luciferase. If you can, imagine these two substances as a key and a lock, perfectly shaped for one another. In the vast, crowded space of a living cell, they drift toward each other with a gentle, magnetic pull. When they finally meet, the enzyme, the luciferase, acts as the lock, welcoming the luciferin key into its embrace. It is a precise, delicate fit designed by millions of years of evolution to be as efficient as a whisper. The luciferase doesn't get used up in this process. It is a patient helper, a catalyst that lowers the barriers and allows the miracle to happen. It holds the luciferin molecule in just the right way, cradling it, preparing it for the moment of transformation. Without this enzyme, the chemical reaction would happen so slowly that we would never see the light. But with the luciferase there to guide it, the process becomes effortless and swift. It is a beautiful internal dance. The enzyme doesn't force the reaction. It simply invites it. It creates a safe, quite quiet space where the luciferin can change. You might think of it as a soft conversation between two old friends where the mere presence of one allows the other to finally speak. In this chemical embrace, the molecules are not colliding with violence or heat, but rather clicking into place with a satisfying silent rhythm. As you settle deeper into your blankets, let your mind drift to this microscopic world of perfect alignment. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. There is no friction, no waste, no noise, just the steady, reliable partnership of the light bringer and its helper, waiting for the final element to complete the circuit and turn the potential into a pulse of color. For even when the key is in the lock and the enzyme is cradling the molecule in its soft hold, the glow still needs one more gentle nudge to begin. It needs a catalyst that we all know well, a substance that is as essential to the light as it is to our own quiet breathing. It needs the presence of oxygen. Oxygen is the breath of life for us, and for these glowing creatures, it is the breath of light. When oxygen enters the chemical chamber, where the luciferin and luciferase are waiting in their quiet embrace, it acts as the final gentle spark. It doesn't take much. Just a tiny controlled influx of oxygen molecules is to trigger the reaction. In this moment, the luciferin molecule becomes excited, reaching a higher state of energy. And as it returns to its resting state, it releases that extra energy as a photon, a single tiny particle of light. The way an organism controls this light is a marvel of biological engineering. They don't just glow constantly, they manage their light with the same subconscious ease that we use to blink our eyes. Within their bodies are specialized cells, often called photocytes, which act like tiny private rooms for this chemical performance. To turn the light on, the organism simply allows oxygen to enter these cells. To turn it off, they restrict the flow, cutting off the supply. It is a biological dimmer switch, as precise and effortless as the way your own lungs expand and contract without you even having to think about it. Imagine this process as a slow, rhythmic breath of light. The creature breathes in, and its body begins to glow with a soft, cool radiance that spreads like ink in clear water. It breathes out, and the light gently recedes, fading back into the velvety darkness of the surroundings. It is a heartbeat made of color, a silent, visual language that requires no sound to be understood. As you settle deeper into your pillow, you might find yourself picturing these pulses, on and off, soft and steady, matching the natural, unhurried pace of your own relaxation. There is no urgency here, only the steady cycle of the glow. This control allows for incredible variety. Some creatures can produce a single, long-lasting glow that stays steady for minutes, while others can create rapid-fire flashes that look like a strobe light in the dark. It all depends on how they move their oxygen. It is a form of internal alchemy, turning the very air they breathe into a visual masterpiece. While we often think of this light in the context of a warm summer night on the land. The true home of bioluminescence is much further away. To see where this phenomenon truly thrives, we must leave the familiar sense of grass and earth behind. We must travel toward the coast, where the air turns salty and cool, and look out over the vast, dark expanse of the sea. But even the surface of the water is only the beginning. The most incredible displays of living light are hidden far beneath the waves, in a world where the sun has no power and the darkness is absolute. We are going to descend now, leaving the world of air and wind, and sink slowly into the deep, silent blue of the ocean. As we sink deeper, the weight of the water above us grows, but here, in the safety of our thoughts, it feels like a gentle, protective embrace. The bright turquoise of the surface fades into a rich sapphire, then a bruised indigo, and finally it dissolves into a profound velvety black. We have reached the midnight zone, or the bathypelagic zone, a place where the sun's rays can no longer reach. This region begins about 1,000 meters below the surface, and it is a world of eternal twilight, a vast and silent liquid space that covers most of our planet, yet remains one of the most mysterious and least explored places on Earth. In this absolute darkness, you might expect a void, a place of nothingness. But as your eyes adjust to the inner stillness, you begin to see that the deep is alive with sparks. It is a startling realization that down here, light is not a luxury. It is a necessity for survival. In fact, marine biologists estimate that over 75% of all deep-sea creatures are bioluminescent. This means that for the vast majority of life in the deep, the ability to create light is as fundamental as the ability to breathe. It is the most common form of communication on our planet, happening every single moment in the crushing, quiet depths where the sun is only a memory. Imagine being suspended in this cool, dark water. You are perfectly buoyant, feeling completely weightless, as if the bed beneath you has turned into a soft, supporting current of the sea. All around you, the darkness is punctuated by tiny flickering glimmers. Because there is no sunlight to define the shapes of things, these creatures use light as their only language. In a world without walls or landmarks, light becomes the way they map their surroundings and find their way through the endless shadows. This language of light is entirely silent. There are no sounds in the deep, only the rhythmic pulse of glowing fins and the soft shimmer of translucent bodies. It is a slow-motion dance, a gallery of living stars moving through a liquid sky. In this midnight world, a flash of light can be a greeting, a question, or a shield. It is a realm where to be seen is a choice, and to glow is to exist. Each spark you see represents a life, a small consciousness, navigating the great, dark expanse with its own internal lantern. As you drift further into this peaceful, underwater dream, you might notice something peculiar about these lights. They aren't the warm yellows of a candle or the harsh whites of a street lamp. Instead, they almost all share a very specific, soothing hue that feels as deep as the ocean itself. As we look closer at these drifting constellations, we see that the deep ocean has a favorite color, a shade that defines the very essence of the abyss and dictates how every creature sees and is seen. It is a color that feels both ancient and futuristic, a hue that carries through the water with an ease that no other light can match. That specific, soothing hue is a luminous blue-green. In the vast, heavy silence of the ocean, colors do not behave the way they do in the sunlit world above. If you were to carry a red lantern into these depths, its light would vanish almost instantly, swallowed up by the water's density. Red and orange wavelengths are long and low energy. They are the first to be absorbed by the sea, but blue and green light are different. Their wavelengths are shorter and more persistent, capable of cutting through the dark for incredible distances. Evolution, in its quiet wisdom, has recognized this. Because blue light travels the furthest, it has become the universal language of the deep. Most creatures here have eyes that are specifically tuned to catch these sapphire and emerald glimmers, ignoring almost all other colors. To glow blue is to be heard in a world of silence. It is the most efficient way to signal a friend or distract a foe. This soft, cool glow doesn't feel like a harsh neon light. Instead, it feels like the gentle pulse of a distant star or the soft light of a moon that never sets. As you visualize this blue-tinted world, allow yourself to feel the deep sense of peace it brings. You are safe and warm, tucked away in your own quiet space, yet your mind is free to drift through this underwater sanctuary. The pressure of the day has been left far above at the surface, and here, in the cool embrace of the deep, there is nothing you need to do. Just breathe. Let each inhale be as calm as the rising tide, and each exhale as slow as a sinking bubble. You are drifting through a blue-tinted dream, weightless and supported, surrounded by a light that is as old as the sea itself. As your eyes wander through this sapphire void, you might notice that the darkness is not empty. Between the larger flashes of the jellyfish and the fish, there is a constant, delicate movement. It looks like a slow-motion blizzard, a gentle fall of tiny white gold flakes drifting eternally downward. This is what scientists call marine snow. It is one of the most beautiful and essential rhythms of our planet. A silent, glowing rain that connects the world of light at the surface to the world of shadows at the bottom. These tiny particles, no larger than a grain of sand, are the lifeblood of the deep, and as they fall, they carry their own secret, shimmering stories. As you watch this gentle, underwater snowfall, you are seeing the silent pulse of the ocean's metabolism. These flakes of marine snow are composed of organic detritus, tiny remnants of life that once thrived in the sunlit layers far above. They are fragments of microscopic plants, tiny shells, and other organic materials that have begun their long, slow journey toward the seafloor. In the stillness of the deep, a single flake can take weeks to reach the bottom, drifting through miles of water with a grace that is almost hypnotic to observe. It is a slow-motion descent, a quiet migration of energy from the world of the sun to the world of the midnight zone. But what makes this snow truly magical is the light it carries. As these particles descend, they are colonized by trillions of microscopic bacteria. These bacteria are the architects of the glow. They use bioluminescence to signal their presence, transforming each tiny speck of detritus into a miniature lantern. When you look out into the abyss, you aren't just seeing darkness. You are seeing a vast, three-dimensional field of stars. It is as if the night sky has been mirrored and submerged, creating a starry night effect that stretches for thousands of miles in every direction. The ocean is not a void. It is a galaxy of tiny, flickering lives. Imagine yourself suspended in the center of this liquid cosmos. There is no wind here, only the soft, imperceptible tug of deep-sea currents. The marine snow drifts past you like a gentle blizzard in slow motion, soft, white gold specks of light that illuminate the deep. Each flake is a tiny world of its own, a flickering ember in the cold dark. This constant rain of light ensures that even in the deepest trenches, the darkness is never absolute. It is a soft, pervasive glimmer that reminds us that life is everywhere, even in the most remote corners of our planet. The descent of this glowing snow is a quiet, rhythmic process. It feels like the slow ticking of a clock that measures time in centuries rather than seconds. As you watch a single particle drift by, let your own thoughts become just as light and unburdened. You are simply an observer in this peaceful, luminous world. There is a profound sense of continuity here, the surface feeding the depths, the light of the sun being repurposed into the light of the sea. It is a closed circle of energy and beauty, existing far away from the noise and rush of the world we know. As we drift further into this starry underwater landscape, the marine snow begins to thin and our attention is drawn toward a different kind of light. It isn't the soft, random glimmer of the falling detritus, but a steady, purposeful glow that seems to be waiting in the distance. Emerging from the shadows is a creature that has become a symbol of the deep's mysteries. It moves slowly, its dark silhouette almost invisible against the black water. But ahead of it, dangling like a solitary star on a delicate thread, is a bright, inviting point of light. We are moving closer now to the legendary anglerfish, a master of the deep who has learned to harness the power of living light in a way that is both beautiful and incredibly precise. This light is not part of the fish itself, but a gift from the tiny companions it carries through the dark. The light we see bobbing so gently in the distance is part of a sophisticated biological tool. This glowing orb is known as an esca, a word that comes from the Latin for bait. It sits at the end of a long, flexible filament called the ilichium, which is actually a highly modified spine from the fish's dorsal fin. As the anglerfish moves through the midnight zone, this esca acts like a tiny bobbing lantern in an endless, dark hallway. It is a beacon of curiosity in a world where any sign of life is a rarity. But the truly remarkable thing about this light is that the anglerfish does not produce it alone. The glow is the result of a profound partnership, a silent pact between the fish and trillions of microscopic guests. Inside the hollow chamber of the esca, the anglerfish plays host to specific types of bioluminescent bacteria. These bacteria find a permanent home within the fish, sheltered from the vast, cold pressures of the open ocean. In exchange for this safe harbor and a steady supply of nutrients provided by the fish's own bloodstream, the bacteria provide the gift of light. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship, a marriage of two very different forms of life working together to survive in the most demanding environment on Earth. Neither could achieve this glow without the other. The bacteria require the chemistry of the fish to ignite their inner fire, and the fish requires the bacteria to navigate and hunt in the eternal gloom. Imagine this tiny glowing chamber as a warm, inviting room in the middle of a vast frozen wilderness. The light it emits is soft and steady, a pale blue or green that pulses with a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The anglerfish can even control the intensity of this light using specialized muscles to shroud the esca, or by restricting the flow of oxygen to the bacteria, effectively dimming the lantern when it wishes to disappear back into the shadows. It is a master of subtlety, using its liquid not to startle, but to whisper to the other creatures of the deep. To a passing crustacean or a smaller fish, this light looks like a stray piece of marine snow, or perhaps a tiny edible jellyfish, a small comfort in the crushing dark. As the anglerfish drifts, its body remains almost perfectly still, saving every bit of energy. It is a patient observer, a quiet wanderer of the abyss. The lantern sways with the imperceptible movement of the water, casting long, soft shadows that stretch and dissolve into the blackness. There is something deeply peaceful about this image, a solitary light carried by a silent guardian moving through a world that has never known the sun. It reminds us that even in the most isolated places, life finds a way to connect, to cooperate, and to create beauty out of the simplest chemical elements. But while the anglerfish uses its light as an invitation, a way to draw the world toward it, other creatures in these depths have developed ways to use light as a shield. In a realm where being seen can be dangerous, light can also be a powerful tool for defense, a way to confuse, startle, or even call for help. As we leave the patient anglerfish behind in its quiet vigil, we begin to see quicker, sharper flashes of light emerging from the darkness. These are not the steady lanterns of hunters, but the frantic, brilliant signals of those who use the glow to protect themselves. We are moving now toward the realm of the deep-sea jellyfish, where light becomes a silent alarm, ringing out through the water to summon protection from the shadows. As we move further into the velvet darkness of the bathypelagic zone, we encounter a different kind of light, one that isn't used to beckon, but to scream in silence. This is the fascinating world of the Atolla jellyfish, a creature shaped like a delicate, deep red cone. In these crushing depths, its red color is almost invisible, as red light is the first to be absorbed by the water, leaving the jellyfish a phantom in the shadows. But when this creature is disturbed, perhaps by a hungry crustacean or a small fish, it undergoes a breathtaking transformation. It activates what scientists call the burglar alarm strategy. Instead of a soft, steady glow, the Atolla jellyfish erupts in a series of brilliant pulsing flashes of electric blue light. These flashes travel in circular ripples around its body, creating a mesmerizing high-speed strobe effect that can be seen from hundreds of feet away. To us, it might look like a frantic neon sign, but in the silence of the deep, It is a sophisticated plea for intervention. The jellyfish isn't trying to fight off its attacker directly. It is calling for a bigger predator by illuminating its attacker with such intense light. The Atala effectively points a spotlight at the creature trying to eat it. It is as if the jellyfish is shouting to the darkness, "Here is a meal. Come and take it." Imagine this scene for a moment. The vast black expanse of the ocean, where every movement is usually slow and calculated. Suddenly, a burst of blue light shatters the gloom, casting sharp, rhythmic shadows against the invisible currents. It is a silent strobe, a beacon that cuts through the water like a lighthouse in a storm. A larger predator, perhaps a squid or a larger fish, is drawn to this sudden display of light. It sees the smaller creature attacking the jellyfish, and seeing an easy meal, sweeps in to consume the intruder. In the ensuing chaos, the Atala jellyfish, now dark once more, slips away into the safety of the deep, leaving its two adversaries to settle their own fate. This strategy is a testament to the incredible complexity of life in the dark. It is a form of communication that relies entirely on the eyes of others, a way to turn a moment of extreme vulnerability into a clever trap. The light here is a weapon of misdirection, a flare sent up from the bottom of the world. As you listen to the rhythmic pulse of your own breathing, you might imagine those blue ripples of light slowly fading away, returning the water to its natural state of peaceful, heavy stillness. The Atala drifts on, its crown-like bells pulsing gently, once again a shadow among shadows. But light in the deep ocean is not always about being seen or calling for help. Sometimes the most effective use of bioluminescence is to become completely invisible. While the Atala uses light to reveal its enemies, other creatures use it to hide themselves in plain sight, blending so perfectly with the environment that they seem to vanish entirely. This brings us to one of the most elegant and counterintuitive tricks of evolution, the art of counter-illumination. It is a method of camouflage that involves becoming light itself, a way to erase one's own silhouette against the faint, ghostly glow that filters down from the world far above. Imagine for a moment that you are floating in the vast, open water of the twilight zone, a place where the sun's reach is failing but hasn't yet vanished. If you were to look up toward the distant surface, you wouldn't see a bright sun, but rather a soft, dim, ethereal glow, a pale blue ceiling that stretches forever. In this environment, any creature swimming above a predator becomes a target, not because of its color, but because of its shadow. To a hunter looking up from the darkness below, a fish or a squid appears as a sharp, dark silhouette against that faint light from above. It is a perfect target, a black shape cut out of a blue dream. To survive here, many creatures have developed a strategy that seems almost magical: counter-illumination. This is a form of camouflage where an animal doesn't try to blend into the rocks or the sand, but instead tries to blend into the light itself. On the undersides of their bodies, their bellies, and their sides, these animals possess rows of light-producing organs called photophores. These tiny biological lamps point downward, casting a soft blue glow that matches the exact color and intensity of the sunlight filtering down from the surface. Think of the hatchetfish, a small silver creature named for its thin, blade-like body. Its entire lower half is lined with these photophores. As it swims, it constantly monitors the light coming from above and adjusts its own internal glow to match it perfectly. By doing this, the hatchetfish effectively erases its own shadow. To a predator looking up, the fish simply isn't there. Its body has become indistinguishable from the water around it. It has achieved the ultimate form of invisibility by becoming light itself. It is a quiet, steady brilliance, a way of hiding in plain sight by mimicking the very sky of the ocean. There is a profound peace in this concept, the idea of an animal so finely tuned to its environment that it can disappear by reflecting the world around it. Another master of this art is the Hawaiian bobtail squid. This small nocturnal creature has a special light organ that houses bioluminescent bacteria. During the night, as the moon and stars cast a faint glow over the shallow reefs, the squid uses these bacteria to glow from its underside. It balances its light so precisely that it casts no shadow on the seafloor below, allowing it to glide over the sand like a ghost, unnoticed by anything that might be waiting in the dark. As you rest now, visualize this soft blue light. It is a gentle, cool radiance that doesn't burn or flicker, but simply exists as a steady part of the water. It is a protective embrace of light, a shield made of glow. The effort required for these creatures to maintain this balance is something they do as naturally as breathing, a rhythmic adjustment to the shifting patterns of the sea. We are now beginning to leave the crushing pressures and the eternal shadows of the deep ocean. We are drifting upward, passing through the layers of the sea where the water grows warmer and the pressure begins to lift from our shoulders. The deep sea lanterns and the silent strobe lights of the Atala jellyfish are fading behind us, replaced by a different kind of magic that happens where the water meets the air. As we approach the surface, the scale of bioluminescence changes. It moves from the individual lanterns of unique fish to a collective, shimmering wonder that can transform entire coastlines. We are moving toward the skin of the ocean, where the smallest organisms create the greatest spectacles. As we rise, the crushing weight of the deep ocean continues to fall away, replaced by a sense of lightness and buoyancy. The water around us begins to feel warmer, and the silence of the abyss is slowly joined by the rhythmic, distant pulse of the surface. We are approaching the very skin of the sea where the water meets the air and the stars. Here, the nature of light changes once again. It is no longer the solitary lure of a deep-sea fish or the strategic glow of a squid, but a collective, shimmering marvel created by some of the smallest living things on Earth. These tiny wonders are called dinoflagellates. They are microscopic plankton, so small that a single drop of seawater can hold thousands of them. To the naked eye during the day, they are invisible, drifting peacefully with the tides. But as the sun sets and the world grows dark, they prepare for a spectacular transformation. These organisms possess a unique sensitivity to movement. When the water around them is disturbed by the stroke of a paddle, the wake of a boat, or the tumbling of a wave, they respond with a sudden, brilliant flash of blue light. This phenomenon is often called sea sparkle, or by its scientific name, Noctiluca scintillans. The name itself sounds like a soft incantation, a whisper of light in the night. Imagine standing on a quiet beach under a moonless sky. The air is cool and carries the salty, clean scent of the ocean. As a wave begins to curl and break toward the shore, it doesn't just foam with white bubbles. Instead, the entire crest of the wave ignites into a vivid, electric neon blue. It looks as though the stars have fallen into the surf and are being churned into liquid light. This glow is a defense mechanism, a tiny burglar alarm of the sea. By flashing when they are moved, the dinoflagellates hope to startle whatever might be trying to eat them, or perhaps to draw the attention of an even larger predator that might eat their attacker. But to us, watching from the safety of the sand, it is a scene of pure ethereal beauty. Every movement in the water becomes a brushstroke of light. If you were to trail your hand through the water, a wake of blue sparks would follow your fingers, swirling and dancing in the dark like underwater fireflies. The color is a deep, saturated sapphire, a shade of blue so pure it feels like it belongs in a dream. It is a cold light, much like the bioluminescence of the deep, but it feels more alive because of its responsiveness. It is a conversation between the water and the movement within it. When the ocean is calm, the light sleeps. When the ocean breathes and moves, the light awakens. As you settle deeper into your pillows, imagine the rhythmic sound of those glowing waves, the soft, repetitive wash of the tide coming in and going out. With every pulse of the water, a new ribbon of blue light traces the edge of the shore, fading slowly back into the dark as the water settles. It is a gentle, hypnotic cycle, a reminder that even the smallest life forms can illuminate the vastness of the world. The scale of these displays can be truly breathtaking. While a single dinoflagellate is too small to see, they often gather in such immense numbers that they color the ocean for miles. These massive blooms can turn entire bays into glowing lagoons where the water appears to be made of light itself. The sheer number of these tiny organisms is almost impossible to grasp. Trillions upon trillions of microscopic lights, all waiting for the water to move so they can share their brief, brilliant spark. We are now beginning to see that this collective glow can extend far beyond the breaking waves of the shore, reaching out into the open ocean where the scale of bioluminescence becomes even more profound, creating vast landscapes of light that can be seen from the very edge of space. While the neon blue of the shore is a sudden flashing reaction to movement, there is another phenomenon in the open ocean that is much more vast and much more still. These are known as milky seas. Imagine yourself standing on the deck of a ship far from any coastline in the middle of a moonless night. The sky above is a deep, velvety black, but as you look out over the railing, the water is no longer dark. Instead, it appears as though the entire ocean has been replaced by a glowing white carpet of light. This isn't the electric, jolting blue of the dinoflagellates. It is a soft, steady, milky glow that stretches in every direction, reaching all the way to the horizon. It looks like a field of snow illuminated by a hidden sun, or a sea of liquid milk glowing with an internal pearlescent fire. This incredible display isn't caused by plankton reacting to the churn of the ship's wake. Instead, it is the work of trillions upon trillions of bioluminescent bacteria. Unlike the creatures that flash only when they are disturbed, these bacteria glow continuously, creating a light that is hauntingly constant. Scientists believe this happens through a process called quorum sensing. The bacteria only begin to emit their light once their population reaches a staggering density, a microscopic community deciding all at once to illuminate the dark. It is a collective effort of unfathomable proportions. The scale of a Milky Sea is so immense that it can be captured by satellites orbiting high above the Earth. These glowing patches of water can cover tens of thousands of square miles, areas larger than some countries, appearing as a soft, ghostly smudge of white on the dark face of the planet. For centuries, sailors told tales of these seas of milk, stories that were often dismissed as legends or hallucinations brought on by long weeks at sea, but we now know they are very real, a testament to the power of tiny leaps working in unison. Sailors who have passed through them describe the experience as transformative. The water becomes so luminous that it can cast shadows on the deck of a ship, and the boundary between the ocean and the sky seems to vanish, leaving the vessel floating in a void of soft white light. In the heart of a milky sea, the world feels incredibly large and yet strangely intimate. The glow is a quiet constant, a reminder that life exists in every corner of our planet, often in ways we can barely imagine. There is no splashing, no sudden burst of energy, just a steady rhythmic peace that extends as far as the eye can see. As you lie there, imagine the ship gliding silently through this glowing expanse, the water parting softly at the bow, leaving no dark wake, only more light. But as we leave the vast open expanse of the ocean behind, we begin to travel back toward the land, carrying the memory of that white glow with us. The sound of the deep rolling water begins to fade, replaced by a different kind of silence. The air becomes cooler and heavier, losing its sharp tang of salt and replacing it with the rich, sweet scent of damp earth, pine needles, and decaying leaves. We are leaving the spray of the waves and moving into the deep, ancient heart of a forest at night. Here, the ground beneath our feet is soft and yielding, cushioned by thick moss and the fallen debris of 1,000 seasons. The canopy of trees above is so dense that it filters out the starlight, creating a world of profound shadows. In this quiet, shaded realm, a different kind of living light is waiting to be discovered, tucked away in the damp corners of the forest floor where the darkness is most complete. As your eyes grow accustomed to the deep velvet shadows of the forest floor, you might notice a faint ethereal shimmer emanating from a fallen log or the base of an ancient, decaying stump. This is not the flickering light of an insect or a stray beam of moonlight filtering through the leaves. This is foxfire, a natural, biological glow produced by several species of fungi as they quietly go about the work of decomposition. In the stillness of the woods, this light feels like a secret, a soft emerald-tinted whisper from the earth itself. The term foxfire has a certain folk magic to it, likely derived from an old word meaning false fire, because while it glows with a steady intensity, it possesses no heat. It is a cold light, much like the bioluminescence we found in the deep ocean, yet it feels entirely different here among the roots and the moss. While the creatures of the sea often use light in bursts and flashes to communicate or defend themselves, the glow of foxfire is remarkably constant. Once it begins, it can shine for days or even weeks without interruption, a persistent ghostly presence in the dark. Imagine yourself standing before a moss-covered oak that fell many years ago. The wood is soft and damp, returning its nutrients to the soil. Within the fibers of this wood, the fungal mycelium, the tiny thread-like network of the fungus, is blooming. As these threads break down the organic matter, a chemical reaction occurs, releasing a glow that is often described as a pale neon green or a soft watery blue-white. It is a light so dim that you might miss it if you were hurrying, but in the patient silence of the night, it becomes a beacon. There is something deeply comforting about the steadiness of this glow. It does not demand your attention with a sharp flash. It simply exists, a quiet companion to the turning of the seasons. If you were to reach out and touch the glowing wood, your hand would feel only the cool, damp texture of the bark and the velvet softness of the moss. The light remains undisturbed by your presence, a silent witness to the slow, rhythmic pulse of the forest's life cycle. As you settle deeper into your own rest, let the image of this soft green light fill your mind. It is a light that represents transformation, the way the forest takes what is old and fallen and turns it into something beautiful and new. The foxfire is the visible scene of this hidden work, a glow that emerges from the very process of decay. It is nature's way of illuminating the shadows, showing us that even in the darkest, most forgotten corners of the woods, there is energy, there is life, and there is a quiet, persistent beauty. But this light is not merely a byproduct of chemistry, it serves a profound purpose in the delicate balance of the forest ecosystem. One might wonder why a fungus, tucked away in the shadows where no eyes are meant to see, would spend its precious energy to create such a display. As we linger here in the cool, damp air, watching the steady green glow of the foxfire, we begin to realize that this light is a call, a silent invitation sent out into the night, beckoning to those who move through the undergrowth. This glow is the first chapter in a story of survival and connection that spans the entire forest floor. The glow you see emanating from the foxfire is far more than a beautiful accident of chemistry. It is, in truth, an ancient and luminous invitation. In the deep, still heart of the woods, where the air is heavy and the wind rarely reaches the forest floor, the fungi face a quiet challenge. To survive and thrive, they must spread their spores, the microscopic seeds of their kind, to new locations, far from the original log or stump. While many plants and trees rely on the breeze to carry their seeds across the landscape, the fungi tucked away in the shadows have developed a more clever, more intimate strategy. They use their light to beckon the travelers of the night. Imagine the mushroom as a tiny organic lighthouse, casting its soft, steady beam into the darkness. For a passing beetle, a tiny fly, or a wandering gnat, this green glow is a signal, a point of interest in an otherwise pitch-black world. As these insects are drawn toward the light, they crawl over the surface of the mushroom, unknowingly collecting thousands of tiny spores on their legs and bodies. When they eventually fly or scurry away, they carry the future of the fungus with them, depositing those spores in new fertile patches of earth or decaying wood. It is a silent partnership, a gentle exchange that ensures the next generation will find a home even miles away from where the parent fungus grew. This strategy is a testament to the quiet intelligence of the natural world. By investing its energy into this cold light, the fungus creates a bridge between itself and the creatures that move through the undergrowth. It is a way of reaching out, of making a connection that transcends its own stationary life. The light acts as a visual whisper, a soft call to the neighbors of the forest, asking for a small favor in exchange for the shelter and nourishment the fungus provides. As you rest, think of this cycle, the way the light facilitates life, moving slowly and purposefully through the dark, ensuring that the forest remains a place of constant renewal and growth. The foxfire remains rooted, its light a fixed point in the shadows. It is patient, enduring, and remarkably still. But as we leave the damp, cool earth of the forest floor and move toward the edge of the woods, where the trees give way to open meadows and tall, swaying grasses, we encounter a different kind of light. This new glow is not fixed to the earth. It is buoyant and wandering. It is a light that dances on the air, appearing and disappearing like a series of golden thoughts. We are moving from the steady, fungal lighthouse to the flickering sparks of the meadow, the realm of the firefly. These canny wanderers carry the same chemistry of light, but they use it to write a very different kind of story in the night sky. Just as the mushroom calls to the beetle, the firefly uses its glow to speak to its own kind, turning the summer air into a living map of light. As you stand at the edge of this vast, dark meadow, the transition feels like entering a different world. The heavy, damp scent of the forest floor is replaced by the sweet, dry aroma of sun-warmed hay and wild clover. The air here is still, holding on to the last lingering warmth of the day, even as the sky above turns a deep velvet indigo. It is in this quiet transition between day and night that the first spark appears. You might miss it if you blink. A tiny golden pinprick of light that manifests just inches above the tall, swaying grass. It lingers for a heartbeat, a soft pulse of amber in the twilight, and then it is gone, leaving you to wonder if you truly saw it at all. But then another appears a few feet away, and another, rising like embers from an invisible fire. These are the fireflies, though the name itself is a bit of a poetic misunderstanding. In the quiet halls of science, they are known as Lampyridae. Despite what their common name suggests, they are not fleas, nor are they true bugs. They are beetles. This distinction is more than just a label. It tells us something about their nature. Unlike the fragile, frantic movements of a common fly, these are sturdy creatures built with the deliberate, armored grace of the beetle family. They carry their wings protected under hardened covers called elytra, and they move through the world with a sense of ancient, unhurried purpose. They have been part of the Earth's nightly landscape for millions of years, perfecting their luminescent craft long before the first human eyes looked upon them in wonder. Across our planet, there are over 2,000 different species of these glowing beetles, and each one possesses its own unique language written in light. As you watch the meadow begin to shimmer, you are witnessing thousands of simultaneous conversations, a silent symphony of signals crossing the dark. No two species speak quite the same way. Some prefer a slow, lingering glow that fades like a dying coal, while others use sharp, rhythmic flashes that cut through the darkness like a beacon. There are those that emit a cool emerald green light, and others that lean toward a warm, buttery yellow or even a pale, ghostly orange. This variety is essential for their survival. In the crowded darkness of a summer night, a firefly must be able to recognize its own kind. Imagine it as a series of secret codes, a specific pattern of 3 short blinks perhaps, or a single long pulse followed by a graceful upward swoop. These patterns are as distinct as a human voice or a bird's song, allowing these tiny wanderers to find one another across the vast expanse of the field. It is a beautiful, complex system of communication where no sound is ever made, a dialogue of pure light that turns the meadow into a living map of connection. As you settle deeper into your rest, imagine one of these tiny beetles drifting closer to you. Its flight is heavy and rhythmic, a gentle bobbing motion that follows the contours of the tall grass. It seems so simple from a distance, a floating spark. But as it draws near, you realize that this light is the result of a highly sophisticated biological design. The firefly does not just glow, it carries a precisely engineered instrument within its body. To understand how such a small, humble creature can outshine the stars in your vision, we must look closer at the physical vessel that holds this magic. We must look at the way its body is built to house a lantern that is both powerful and perfectly contained, a masterpiece of natural engineering tucked away within its small, segmented form. If you were to look closely at the underside of this tiny traveler, you would see that the very end of its body, the abdomen, houses a specialized organ, a chamber of light. This chamber is shielded by a thin, transparent layer of the insect's outer shell, known as the cuticle. It acts like the glass pane of a lantern, clear and smooth, allowing the glow to pass through without being dimmed or distorted. It is a protective window, keeping the delicate chemical processes inside safe from the dampness of the night air and the rough edges of the tall grass. Behind this light-producing layer lies something quite remarkable, a specialized layer of reflective cells. These cells act just like a silvered mirror, catching every stray beam of light that would otherwise be lost deep within the firefly's body and bouncing it outward toward the world. This ensures that the glow is as bright and visible as possible, maximizing the tiny amount of energy the insect uses. It is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a perfectly designed lantern carried by a tiny, unhurried wanderer. There is no waste here, no flickering flame that might burn out or heat up, just a steady, cool radiance held within a vessel of organic glass and silver. In the stillness of the evening, as you watch these floating sparks drift by, it is easy to imagine them as tiny explorers using their lights to find their way through the dark forest of the meadow. But the firefly's lantern serves a different, more profound purpose. It does not use its glow to see the path ahead or to illuminate the leaves it walks upon. In fact, most fireflies do not even eat once they reach their adult stage. Their only focus during these few precious summer weeks is connection. The light is not a flashlight, but a beacon a signal designed to be seen from afar. The rhythmic pulsing you see, that steady on and off that feels like the slow, calm beating of a heart, is a deliberate act of communication. By controlling the flow of oxygen into its light organ, the firefly can turn its lantern on and off with incredible precision. It is a language of timing and intensity, a way of reaching out through the vast, silent dark to say, I am here. Every flash is a word, every pause a breath, as these tiny creatures begin the most important work of their lives. They are not just glowing, they are speaking, weaving a tapestry of light that ensures their story will continue for another season, another summer, another quiet night just like this one. As the sun disappears completely and the world turns a deep velvet blue, this language of light becomes the primary voice of the meadow, a silent conversation that we are lucky enough to overhear. This luminous dialogue is the firefly's primary way of finding a mate in the vast velvet expanse of the night. It is a courtship written in light, a delicate and precise dance where timing is everything. For the firefly, the darkness is not an obstacle to be feared, but a canvas upon which it paints its intentions. In the quiet of a midsummer field, this search for connection is the heartbeat of the meadow. In most species, it is the males who take to the air. They are the wanderers, lifting off from the tips of long grass blades as the stars begin to peer through the canopy. Their wings beat steadily as they rise into the cooling air, drifting through the shadows of the trees and over the tops of the wildflowers. As they fly, their lanterns pulse with a steady, hopeful rhythm. They are not looking at the ground to see where they are going. They are scanning the dark for a single, specific spark in return. They possess large, sensitive eyes, perfectly tuned to detect the smallest glimmer amidst the deep shadows of the undergrowth. Far below, tucked safely among the roots and the low-hanging leaves, the females wait. In many species, the females do not fly at all, or they choose to remain still to conserve their energy. They sit as quiet observers of the aerial display above them, like watchers of a silent, slow-motion fireworks show. They are gentle and discerning, listening with their eyes for the exact pattern that matches their own kind. They ignore the hundreds of other flashes that do not belong to them, waiting for that one familiar rhythm that signals a member of their own specific family. When a female finally recognizes the unique flash of a male from her own species, she waits for a precise interval, a pause that may last only a second or two, before sending a single, soft pulse of light back up toward him. It is a quiet confirmation, a yes, whispered in gold or emerald green. This back and forth continues, a rhythmic call and response that draws the male down from the air, guiding him through the labyrinth of stalks and leaves toward her position. To someone standing at the edge of the field, the scene might look like a scattered sea of drifting embers, a beautiful but chaotic jumble of light. Yet, within that perceived chaos is a perfect private order. It is a silent conversation of gold and green signals flickering across the meadow, a language older than words and just as meaningful. Each pair is locked in their own private frequency, a duet played out in the dark. However, this conversation is not a simple one. If every firefly flashed in the exact same way, the meadow would be a confusing blur of light, a crowded room where everyone is shouting the same name at once. To ensure they find the right partner, nature has gifted different groups of fireflies with their own distinct dialects. The night is not filled with just one type of light, but with a symphony of different rhythms, durations, and intensities. These variations are the signatures of life, ensuring that in the vastness of the dark, no one is truly lost. As you watch the meadow, you might begin to notice that not every spark is the same. Each one tells a slightly different story through its timing and its grace. Within this silent meadow, the diversity of life is written in the timing of the sparks. Each species of firefly carries its own unique signature, a specific rhythm, duration, and intensity of light that serves as a biological fingerprint. For these creatures, the darkness is not a void, but a canvas where they draw their intentions with incredible precision. Scientists have observed that these patterns are so distinct that an expert can identify the species simply by counting the seconds between pulses or noting the exact shade of the glow. It is a world of light where every millisecond matters. Some fireflies are like gentle artists using the air as their parchment. One common species, often known as the Big Dipper, performs a graceful J-shaped swoop. As it flies low over the grass, it begins its flash while descending slightly, then sharply hooks upward as the light reaches its peak brightness. It leaves behind a lingering trail in the observer's eye, a glowing hook of amber light that hangs for a fraction of a second against the velvet backdrop of the trees. It is a slow, deliberate movement, repeated with a patient persistence that mirrors the steady, unhurried heartbeat of the summer night. In contrast, other species prefer a more rapid, energetic code. They might emit a quick, sharp double blink, two tiny bursts of chartreuse light in rapid succession, followed by a long, expectant glance. Others still might produce a series of flickering pulses that look like a distant, miniature lightning storm contained within a single blade of grass. There are even those that glow with a steady, unwavering light for several seconds, drifting like tiny, grounded stars through the undergrowth. These variations ensure that amidst the thousands of lights, the message meant for one never reaches the wrong destination. The meadow is a library of stories, each told in a different dialect of light. Take a slow, deep breath now, and imagine yourself lying in the center of that meadow. Feel the cool, damp blades of grass pressing gently against your skin. The earth beneath you is solid and supportive, carrying your weight completely, allowing every muscle to soften and release. Above you, the sky is a deep, dark indigo, but your focus is on the space just above the ground. You are surrounded by these rhythmic patterns, the J swoops, the double blinks, the steady glows. They are not chaotic. They are a soft visual lullaby. Your eyes track one golden spark as it rises, then another as it fades, and you feel your own rhythm beginning to slow, matching the peaceful pace of the meadow. As you watch these individual performers, you might notice how they usually stay in their own small territories, each one a solitary light in the vast dark. But in certain corners of the world, a strange and beautiful shift occurs. The individual voices begin to fade into the background as a much larger collective phenomenon takes hold. In these rare places, the fireflies stop acting as separate sparks and begin to work as one. They move beyond their unique dialects to find a shared, silent pulse, a transition from a scattered melody into a powerful, synchronized chorus of light that breathes with the forest itself. In certain ancient forests, particularly in the deep, humid valleys of the Appalachian Mountains, a remarkable transformation occurs. As the night matures and the air grows heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss. Here, the individual dialects of light we've explored begin to fade, replaced by a much rarer and more profound phenomenon. This is the home of Photinus carolinus, the synchronous firefly. Unlike their cousins who flash in solitary rhythms, these fireflies have mastered the art of the collective. They do not merely exist in the same space. They exist in the same moment. As you sit quietly in this imagined forest, the darkness feels thick and absolute for a few long seconds. Then, as if a silent conductor has lowered a baton, the entire woods ignite. Thousands upon thousands of fireflies, clinging to the leaves of rhododendrons, hovering over the ferns and dancing between the trunks of ancient hemlocks, flash in perfect, breathtaking unison. It is not a staggered wave or a chaotic flicker, but a single, unified pulse of light that saturates the darkness. And then, just as suddenly, every light vanishes at once, plunging the world back into a deep, restorative silence. This rhythmic cycle continues with a mathematical precision that seems almost impossible for such small, delicate creatures. They flash together several times in quick succession, a bright stutter of gold against the black, followed by a deliberate period of darkness that lasts for 6 to 9 seconds. During that pause, the forest seems to hold its breath. You can almost feel the weight of the stillness, a quiet so heavy it feels like a warm blanket. Then the cycle repeats, on and off, on and off. It is as if the forest itself has found a way to breathe through light, a slow and steady respiration that calms the mind and centers the spirit. Scientists believe this incredible synchronization serves a very practical purpose. In a forest crowded with different species and thousands of competing lights, it can be difficult for a female firefly to recognize the specific signal of her own kind. By flashing all at once, the males create a clear, unmistakable pattern that cuts through the visual noise of the night. It is a moment of perfect clarity achieved through cooperation. In this space, there is no competition, only a shared harmony that illuminates the entire landscape. Take a moment to let that rhythm settle into your own breathing. Imagine that pulse of light, soft, golden, and warm, expanding and contracting in time with your chest. The darkness between the flashes is not empty. It is a space for rest, a moment for the world to reset before the next gentle glow. You are a part of this quiet, synchronized world, drifting in the steady ebb and flow of a living light. As we watch these brilliant aerial displays, it is easy to forget that the life of a firefly does not begin in the air. While the adults capture our gaze with their soaring dances, the story of bioluminescence on land often begins much closer to the ground, hidden away in the secret places beneath our feet. If you lower your eyes from the canopy and the hovering sparks, and look instead toward the damp leaf litter and the rotting logs nestled in the shadows, you will find a different kind of glow. Before they ever develop wings, before they ever take to the summer sky, these insects exist in a humbler, more grounded form. In the soft, decaying world of the forest floor, the next generation is already beginning to shine. These are the larvae, the young fireflies that spend their days and nights navigating the miniature jungles of moss and soil. Even at this early stage of life, long before they participate in the grand, synchronous ballets of the treetops, they carry the spark of the stars within them. They are often known by another name, one that evokes the image of a tiny, living ember crawling through the dark, the glowworm. In this quiet subterranean realm, the light serves a very different purpose, shifting from a call for connection to a silent, glowing shield of protection. Imagine yourself leaning down, your hand resting for a moment on the cool, velvet surface of a mossy rock. Here, among the damp leaf litter and the rich, dark scent of the soil, the glowworms make their home. These are not true worms, of course, but the larval stage of the fireflies we watched dancing in the air just moments ago. Before they ever develop wings, before they ever take part in the grand aerial ballets of midsummer, they spend their days and nights navigating this miniature jungle of twigs and fallen leaves. They are tiny, soft-bodied travelers, moving with a slow and rhythmic grace through the shadows. Unlike the adult fireflies, who use their light as a gentle invitation to find a mate, these young larvae use their glow for a very different, more protective purpose. In the quiet world of the forest floor, their light is a silent warning. Scientists call this phenomenon aposematism. It is the same principle that gives a wasp its bright yellow stripes or a poison dart frog its vivid blue skin. The light serves as a stop sign, a visual message sent into the darkness to inform any curious predator that this little creature is not a suitable meal. These larvae produce defensive chemicals that make them taste incredibly bitter, and the light is an honest signal, a way to prevent a mistake before it happens. It is a peaceful form of defense, a way to ensure safety through clarity rather than conflict. As you look closer, you can see them scattered across the dark earth like tiny stray embers that have fallen from a distant, dying campfire. They do not flash with the urgency of the adults. Instead, they emit a steady, low-intensity pulse, a soft green-gold glow that seems to emanate from the very center of their being. On a damp night, when the air is heavy with the promise of rain, hundreds of these living embers might be visible at once, punctuating the darkness of the undergrowth. There is something deeply grounding about this sight. It reminds us that even in the most hidden, humble corners of the world, life finds a way to shine. The light is not trying to impress or compete. It is simply existing, a quiet lantern in the vast, dark expanse of the woods. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine the coolness of that damp forest air. Feel the stillness of the ground beneath you, the same ground where these tiny lights are making their slow, steady way through the moss. You are safe here, just as they are safe in their glowing armor. The rhythm of their light is slow, much like the rhythm of a deep, restful sleep. But the name glowworm is a broad one. a title we give to many different creatures that have mastered the art of lighting up the shadows. While the firefly larvae keep to the damp forests and meadows, there is another kind of glowworm that has created one of the most breathtaking displays on our planet, hidden far away from the wind and the open sky. To find them, we must leave the forest floor and travel to the southern hemisphere, to the islands of New Zealand. There, the earth opens up into ancient limestone cathedrals, carved over millions of years by the patient movement of water. In the absolute velvety darkness of these deep caves, a different kind of living light is waiting to be discovered, a light that transforms a cold stone ceiling into a window that looks out onto the stars. Imagine stepping into a small wooden boat on a perfectly still underground river. The air is cool and damp, and the only sound is the soft, rhythmic drip of water from a stalactite somewhere in the distance. As the boat glides forward into the heart of the cave, you look up, and for a moment, you might forget where you are. Above you, the ceiling does not appear to be made of stone, but of stars. Thousands upon thousands of tiny, brilliant points of light cover the roof of the cavern, reflecting in the mirror-like surface of the water below. You are surrounded by a galaxy of living light, a silent constellation held within the Earth's embrace. These stones are actually the larvae of a unique fungus gnat known as Arachnocampa luminosa. The name itself sounds like a gentle, rhythmic incantation, and the life they lead is just as remarkable. Unlike the fireflies that dance through the open air, these creatures are masters of the stillness. They cling to the limestone ceilings, spinning long, delicate threads of silk that hang down like shimmering gossamer curtains. Each thread is adorned with tiny, sticky droplets of mucus, spaced out like translucent beads on a necklace. To a smaller insect flying in the absolute darkness of the cave, these glowing droplets look like a way out, a patch of starlit sky that promises freedom. But in reality, they are a clever and beautiful trap, a shimmering web designed to catch the unwary. The light comes from a specialized organ at the very end of the larva's tail. It is a soft, steady blue-green glow, a color that feels cool to the eyes and calming to the mind. This light is the result of the same chemical magic we have explored, a reaction between oxygen and a specialized protein, fueled by the calm, slow energy of the larva. As you drift beneath them in your mind, imagine the patience of these tiny hunters. They do not chase or hunt with aggression. They simply exist, glowing with a quiet intensity that transforms a dark, cold space into a place of profound wonder. The effect is truly hypnotic. The silk threads catch the blue light, glowing like organic fiber optic cables, swaying almost imperceptibly in the faint, cool drafts of the cave. This creates a sense of immense depth, as if the solid stone ceiling has simply vanished, and you are looking directly into the infinite reaches of a clear night sky. In this quiet subterranean world, time seems to lose its meaning. The frantic pace of the world above, the sun, the wind, the noise of the day, all fades away, replaced by this steady, cool luminescence. It is a place of deep peace where the light does not pierce the darkness, but rather rests within it. Take a moment to imagine yourself lying back in that boat, looking upward. Your breathing matches the slow, steady pulse of the cave. You are safe, cradled by the stone and the water, watching a living map of the heavens. It is interesting to note the specific shade of this light. While the deep ocean is filled with various blues and greens, most bioluminescence found on the surface of the earth tends to lean toward warmer tones. The blue-green of the cave glowworm is a rare exception on land, a color perfectly tuned to the specific darkness of its limestone home. But as we leave the cool, damp silence of the caves and return to the forests and meadows of the world above, we find that the language of light begins to change. The colors shift from the cool, ethereal blues of the deep and the dark into a different part of the spectrum, one that feels a little more like the world we know and the warmth we seek as the day comes to a close. As we emerge from the damp, cool silence of the glowworm caves, the air begins to feel a bit warmer, a bit softer. We are moving back into the open air of the forest, where the darkness is not absolute, but filtered through the canopy of the trees. Here, the palette of living light undergoes a subtle but important shift. While the deep ocean and the specialized caves are dominated by those cool, ethereal blues that travel so well through water and stone, the creatures that live on the solid earth have evolved a different set of colors to speak their silent language. In the terrestrial world, on the forest floors, in the tall grasses, and among the decaying logs, the most common colors of bioluminescence are shades of yellow, vibrant lime green, and occasionally a soft, glowing orange. This is not a random choice by nature. Evolution is a careful artist, selecting the colors that provide the most contrast against the specific environment an animal calls home. If you think of the forest at night, it is a world of deep, earthy browns, dark, mossy greens, and the black shadows of tree trunks. Against this backdrop, a blue light might easily be absorbed or lost in the gloom. But a sharp, yellowish-green spark or a warm orange glow stands out with remarkable clarity. It is a beacon that cuts through the darkness of the undergrowth, ensuring that the message, whether it is a call for a mate or a warning to a predator, is received loud and clear. Imagine walking through a quiet woodland path late at night. The ground beneath your feet is soft with fallen leaves and the scent of damp earth. As you look down, you see a tiny point of light, not the cold blue of the ocean, but a warm, flickering yellow. It looks almost like a spark that has escaped from a distant, dying campfire and found a home in the moss. These warm tones feel familiar to us. They remind us of the glow of a candle or the embers of a hearth. They provide a sense of comfort even in the middle of the dark woods. This light doesn't feel like a harsh interruption of the night. It feels like a small, quiet presence, a tiny life asserting itself in the vastness of the shadows. These colors are more than just functional. They are beautiful in their simplicity. The yellow-green of a firefly or the orange glow of certain beetles feels organic and earthy. It is the color of new spring leaves seen under a golden sun, but rendered in the middle of the night. As you visualize these small sparks of warmth scattered across the forest floor, feel your own body becoming heavier, sinking into the soft imaginary moss of the woods. The air is perfectly still. The only sound is the distant rhythmic chirping of a cricket, a sound that seems to sync with the slow, steady pulse of the light you see. Most of these terrestrial lights follow this warm-toned rule, working within the limits of what their predators and partners can see. But, as with all things in nature, there is always a rare exception, an organism that breaks the rules to survive in its own unique way. Deep in the leaf litter of Central and South America, there lives a creature that possesses a truly remarkable ability. It is known by a name that brings to mind the steady rhythmic travel of a locomotive through the night, the railroad worm. While other insects are content with a single color, this tiny traveler carries a secret that sets it apart from almost every other bioluminescent creature on land, using a combination of colors that seems almost impossible. The railroad worm is a marvel of the natural world, a creature that seems to have stepped out of a fable or a dream. Despite its name, it is not actually a worm at all, but the larva or wingless female of a specific type of beetle. As it glides through the dark leaf litter of the forest floor, it carries with it a display of lights that is unlike anything else on land. Along the sides of its long, segmented body, it possesses 11 pairs of glowing spots that shine with a soft, yellowish-green hue. But the true mystery lies at the very front of its body, on its head, where a single, brilliant red light glows steadily in the dark. In the stillness of the night, this creature looks remarkably like a miniature steam train chugging through a forest of moss and ferns. The green lights along its sides resemble the glowing windows of passenger cars, while the red light on its head acts as a warning lamp or a powerful headlight. It is a striking image, a tiny living locomotive navigating the vast shadowy landscape of the undergrowth. But this red light is far more than just a beautiful ornament. It is a sophisticated tool of survival, a biological masterstroke that gives the railroad worm a unique advantage in the quiet struggle of the forest floor. Most insects, including the prey that the railroad worm hunts, are effectively blind to red light. Their eyes are tuned to see the shorter wavelengths of blue and green, leaving the longer wavelengths of red invisible to them. This creates a fascinating scenario of stealth illumination. As the railroad worm moves through the damp leaves, it can shine its red headlamp forward, illuminating the path ahead and spotting its prey, usually small millipedes, without ever being detected. It is as if the worm is wearing a pair of high-tech night vision goggles, allowing it to see in the dark while its prey remains blissfully unaware that a hunter is approaching. Imagine the quiet efficiency of this process. The worm moves with a slow, rhythmic grace, its green sidelights perhaps acting as a warning to larger predators that it might be distasteful, while its red searchlight scans the environment in advance. It is a perfect example of how nature finds clever, quiet solutions to the challenges of life. The red light doesn't scatter as much as blue or green light might, allowing the worm to maintain its stealth even as it peers into the deepest shadows. It is a gentle, focused beam of light in a world that otherwise remains draped in velvet blackness. This incredible adaptation reminds us that the world is full of hidden layers, things that are happening right beneath our feet that we may never see. The railroad worm has mastered a part of the light spectrum that most of its neighbors cannot even perceive. It reminds us that there are many ways to see the world and many ways to exist within the dark. As you picture this tiny, glowing train making its way through the soft, cool moss, feel a sense of wonder at the complexity of such a small life. This sophisticated use of light is not a recent invention of the natural world. It is the result of millions of years of refinement, a testament to the enduring power of bioluminescence as a survival strategy. This ability to create light from within has not just happened once in the history of life on Earth. It has appeared over and over again in different branches of the tree of life, across oceans and continents. The light we see in the railroad worm, the firefly, and the deep-sea fish is an ancient language, a bright solution that nature has turned to time and time again to navigate the mysteries of the dark. This light has a history that stretches back through the ages, far longer than we might imagine. The history of this living light is far deeper and more complex than a single branch on the tree of life. Scientists have discovered that bioluminescence didn't just happen once in a lucky stroke of ancient biology. It is a masterpiece of nature that has evolved independently at least 94 separate times. Think about that number for a moment. 94 different moments in the long, winding history of our planet where life looked into the darkness and found a way to create its own internal sun. This phenomenon is what biologists call convergent evolution. It is the remarkable idea that when a challenge is universal, like the need to see, to hide, or to speak in the deep shadows, nature often arrives at the same brilliant solution, even if the creatures are completely unrelated. It is as if the blueprints for light are hidden within the very fabric of life, waiting for the right environment to call them forth. We see this spark appearing in the delicate, translucent bells of jellyfish drifting through the open ocean, pulsing like living heartbeats of sapphire. We see it in the slow-moving land snails of Southeast Asia that emit a soft, rhythmic green glow from their shells as they crawl through the damp leaf litter. We even see it in the crushing depths of the abyss, where certain species of sharks have skin that glows with a faint, ghostly light, allowing them to blend into the dim glow from above. From the smallest microscopic bacteria to the ancient hunters of the deep, the ability to glow has been invented over and over again. It is a success story written in photons, a recurring theme in the grand, quiet symphony of existence. Imagine a vast, dark forest or a silent, midnight sea. In these spaces, different creatures, separated by millions of years of history and vast distances of geography, are all carrying the same quiet flame. They do not share a common glowing ancestor. Instead, they have each discovered the chemistry of light on their own. It is a testament to how essential and effective this glow truly is. Nature is patient, and it is incredibly persistent. When it finds a tool that works, a tool as elegant and graceful as bioluminescence, it refines it, treasures it, and brings it back again and again to light the way through the dark. And part of the reason this trait is so successful, appearing in so many different forms of life, is because of its incredible, quiet efficiency. As we have explored, this is cold light. It is light stripped of the heavy burden of heat. In our human world, we are used to things that glow being hot to the touch. A flickering candle flame, a sun-baked circuit, or an old-fashioned light bulb that hums with wasted thermal energy. But in the natural world, energy is a precious resource that cannot be squandered. To survive in the wild, a creature must be a master of economy, making the most of every calorie and every breath. The bioluminescent reaction is so perfectly tuned that it achieves a level of efficiency that our best human technology still struggles to match. It is a glow that costs the organism almost nothing, a silent brilliance that allows life to shine brightly without ever burning itself. This perfection of process is what allows a tiny insect or a fragile deep-sea fish to maintain its light for hours or even days without exhaustion. It is a calm, steady radiance that fits perfectly into the slow, rhythmic pace of the natural world. If we look closer at the firefly, that small golden spark in the summer grass, we begin to understand just how remarkable this efficiency truly is. If a firefly were to produce its light using the same physics as an old-fashioned incandescent light bulb, it would face a terrible problem. Those bulbs, which many of us remember from our childhoods, create light by getting something very, very hot. In fact, about 90% of the energy they consume is wasted as heat, leaving only 10% to actually illuminate the room. If a firefly's tiny body were to generate that much heat relative to the light it produces, it simply could not survive. The reaction would be so intense, so scorching, that the delicate tissues of the insect would be destroyed in a matter of seconds. But nature has found a much gentler way. The chemical process within the firefly is so refined, so exquisitely tuned, that it produces almost no heat at all. It is a nearly perfect conversion of energy into light. Scientists estimate that the bioluminescent reaction in fireflies is close to 100% efficient. Every bit of the chemical energy stored in the luciferin molecule is released as a photon, a tiny particle of light, with virtually nothing lost to the environment as warmth. It is a cool, calm brilliance that allows the firefly to glow for hours on end, pulsing its message through the night without ever rising in temperature. This is the ultimate form of conservation. It is a quiet mastery of resources, where nothing is wasted and every spark serves a purpose. As you listen to the steady rhythm of these words, take a moment to think about your own energy slowing down, becoming just as efficient and quiet as that firefly's glow. You don't need to expend any effort right now. You don't need to generate heat or movement or thought. Like the firefly, you can simply exist in a state of calm, steady presence. Your breathing is slow and rhythmic, requiring very little energy. Your muscles are relaxing, letting go of any tension they've held throughout the day. Your mind is like a cool, dark meadow, where the only activity is the occasional soft flicker of a peaceful thought. You are becoming still, settling into a state of rest where your body can recover and renew itself without any unnecessary strain. You are drifting into your own version of that cold light, a state of being that is bright with peace but entirely free from the friction of the waking world. This incredible efficiency, this biological perfection, has not gone unnoticed by us. For centuries, humans have looked at the glow of the firefly and the shimmer of the sea with a sense of wonder. But in recent decades, that wonder has turned into a deep scientific curiosity. We have begun to look past the beauty of the light to see the mechanisms underneath. By studying how these creatures manage their internal chemistry so perfectly, we have found ways to use these biological secrets to help ourselves. The very same molecules that allow a jellyfish to pulse in the deep or a beetle to flash in the woods are now being used to light up the mysteries of our own bodies. We are learning to borrow nature's lantern to see things that were once invisible to us, bridging the gap between the wild, glowing world and the quiet halls of human discovery. One of the most profound ways we have connected with this living light is through a discovery made in the heart of a translucent jellyfish known as the crystal jelly. Floating in the cold, dark waters of the North Pacific, this creature carries a secret that has fundamentally changed the way we understand life itself. It is a tiny, barrel-shaped molecule called green fluorescent protein, or GFP. For the jellyfish, this protein is a natural part of its existence, a way to transform its own internal energy into a soft emerald glow. But for us, it has become a master key, unlocking the doors to the most private and hidden corners of the human body. Scientists have learned how to take the genetic code for this glow and gently tuck it into the cells of other organisms. It acts like a microscopic highlighter, a tiny biological beacon that can be attached to a specific protein or a single cell. In the quiet of a laboratory, under the focused lens of a microscope, researchers can now see things that were once entirely invisible. They can watch as a single neuron reaches out to connect with another, or observe a tiny virus travels through a system. It is like being given a lantern in a vast, dark cave. Before, we could only feel the walls and guess at the shape of the room. Now, we can see the path ahead. Imagine for a moment that you are looking at a map of a great bustling city at night. Without any lights, the city is just a dark silhouette, a mystery of silent shapes. But when the street lamps flicker on, the map comes to life. You can see the arteries of the highways, the pulse of the traffic, and the steady glow of the neighborhoods. This is what GFP does for the study of life. It turns the interior of a skill into a luminous landscape, a microscopic map where every movement is traced in a soft neon green. You are looking at the very same glow found in the depths of the sea, but now it is illuminating the delicate machinery of your own existence. It is a beautiful irony that the light of a simple jellyfish has become the very thing that allows us to see the complexity of a human thought or the healing of a wound. This light is not harsh or artificial. It is organic and gentle, a soft shimmer that reveals the rhythmic, swaying dance of life at its most fundamental level. When a scientist looks through that microscope, they aren't just seeing data, they are seeing a visual symphony. They are seeing the same quiet, steady radiance that we might find in a tide pool or a damp forest. There is a deep, comforting continuity in this, the idea that the same light used by a creature in the midnight zone of the ocean is now serving as a guide for our own health and discovery. But as we move away from the laboratory and the microscope back into the world of our own senses, we find that bioluminescence does more than just provide information. It affects us on a level that is much harder to measure, but just as real. There is a reason why we feel a sense of profound peace when we stand on a beach and watch the waves break in blue sparks, or when we sit in a dark field and watch the fireflies rise from the grass. This light speaks to our minds in a way that artificial light never could. It has a psychological weight, a way of drawing our attention without demanding it, pulling us into a state of quiet observation that feels almost like a dream. It is a bridge between the cold facts of science and the warm, soft reality of our own inner peace. There is a specific name for this feeling of peaceful focus that comes over us when we watch the natural world glow. Psychologists call it soft fascination. It is a state of being where our attention is held effortlessly, drawn in by something beautiful and non-threatening. Unlike the harsh, demanding light of a smartphone or the flashing neon of a city street, which forces our brains to work hard to process information and ignore distractions, the light of a firefly or the soft shimmer of the sea is different. It does not ask anything of us. It simply exists, inviting us to look without requiring us to think. This effortless engagement is incredibly restorative for the human mind. Throughout our waking hours, we carry what is known as a heavy cognitive load. We are constantly using directed attention to solve problems, manage our schedules, and navigate a world full of noise. This type of focus is a finite resource. Eventually, it becomes depleted, leading to mental fatigue, irritability, and a sense of being overwhelmed. But when we encounter the rhythmic, gentle patterns of bioluminescence, that load begins to lighten. Because this light is soft and its movements are fluid, it allows our directed attention to rest. Our minds begin to recover from the day's exhaustion, slipping into a state of quiet reflection. It is a form of mental healing, a way for the brain to reset its internal balance while still being gently tethered to the present moment. As you settle deeper into your bed, try to visualize the pulse of a single firefly as a visual lullaby. It is not a sharp or sudden flash, but a gradual swell of light, a soft golden glow that reaches a peak and then slowly, gracefully recedes back into the darkness. It is an undulating rhythm, much like the rise and fall of a calm chest during sleep. In the silence of the night, this rhythmic light acts as a silent song for the eyes. Just as a low humming melody can soothe a restless mind, these slow pulses of organic light can lull the nervous system into a state of deep relaxation. There is no urgency in the glow. It is patient and steady, a biological heartbeat that matches the pace of your own slowing breath. Let your thoughts drift back now to that warm summer evening in the meadow. The air has cooled slightly, but it still carries the sweet, heavy scent of damp grass and wild clover. The sun has been gone for a long time, and the landscape is painted in deep, comforting shades of indigo and charcoal. You are standing, or perhaps lying down, in a place of perfect safety. The only movement in the entire world seems to be the slow, golden dance of the fireflies rising from the tall grass. They are like tiny wandering stars that have decided to visit the earth for just a few hours. Watching them, You feel the weight of the day's responsibilities drifting away, replaced by a sense of quiet wonder. The world feels soft and blurred at the edges. There is no need to analyze the science of the light or the chemistry of the glow. There is only the feeling of being present in a moment of natural magic. The rhythmic blinking of the insects creates a tapestry of light that feels as though the meadow itself is breathing. It is a gentle invitation to let go of the day, to trust in the stillness of the night, and to allow your own internal light to dim as you prepare for rest. The grass is cool beneath you, the air is still, and the glowing world is performing just for you, a silent performance of light and peace that signals it is finally time to be still. As you lie there, perhaps imagining that meadow or simply feeling the weight of your own blankets, it is interesting to note that the intensity of this light show is dictated by the very breath of the earth. Fireflies are most vibrant and active when the air is thick with humidity and the temperature remains comfortably warm. They are creatures of the swelter, thriving in the damp, heavy atmosphere of a midsummer night. On a dry, crisp evening, the meadow might be quiet, but when the air feels like a warm, wet silk against your skin, that is when the magic truly begins. There is a specific moment in the cooling of the night known as the dew point. It is the temperature at which the air can no longer hold all of its water vapor, and tiny microscopic droplets begin to form, clinging to the blades of grass and the petals of wildflowers. This is the perfect stage for the firefly's performance. The high humidity acts almost like a lens, softening the edges of their glow and allowing the light to linger just a fraction longer in the heavy air. You can almost feel that humidity now, not as something stifling, but as a gentle, weighted blanket provided by nature itself. It is the feeling of a late July evening where the air is so full of life and moisture that it carries the scents of the forest and the fields with incredible clarity. Imagine that heavy, sweet air filling your lungs. It smells of crushed clover, damp soil, and the faint, honeyed aroma of nocturnal blooms. Each breath you take is slow and deep, mirroring the stillness of the world around you. The grass beneath you is becoming cool and slick with the rising dew, a refreshing contrast to the lingering warmth of the day that still radiates from the earth. This balance, the cool ground and the warm, moist air, creates a cocoon of perfect comfort. It is a sensory experience that signals to every cell in your body that the time for activity has passed. In this environment, every movement is slowed. The fireflies do not dart, they drift. They move through the saturated air as if they are swimming through a clear, dark lake. And as the humidity rises, your own body feels a similar pleasant heaviness. Your limbs feel as though they are sinking into the mattress. Much like the dew settling onto the leaves, there is no resistance, only a graceful surrender to the physical reality of the night. You are part of this humid, glowing world, tucked away in the soft folds of a summer evening that is slowly, surely guiding you toward a deep and restorative quiet. The world is saturated with peace, and like the fireflies in the heavy July air, you are simply suspended in this moment of perfect, glowing stillness, preparing for the final drift into the dark. As the hours stretch toward the deepest part of the night, the rhythm of the meadow begins to change. The fireflies, which once seemed so numerous, they could rival the stars, begin to find their resting places. It is a biological necessity. Their energy, though used with incredible efficiency, is finite, and the cooling air of the pre-dawn hours signals a time for retreat. You might notice that the flashes near the ground become fewer and further between. The activity that felt so frantic and alive just an hour ago is now settling into a quiet, rhythmic pulse that grows slower with every passing minute. Many species of fireflies, having completed their nightly rituals of communication, begin to move vertically. They drift upward, climbing the invisible ladders of the humid air to reach the higher branches of the trees. If you were to look up from your place in the grass, you might see these last few travelers rising like tiny golden bubbles in a dark sea, eventually disappearing into the dense protective canopy of the oaks and the maples. Up there, amidst the rustling leaves, they find a different kind of sanctuary far above the reach of the rising morning mist. Others choose the opposite path, tucking themselves deep into the cool, damp embrace of the tall grass, their lanterns dimming as they settle against the earth. They fold their wings and become still, their bright signals fading into the velvet shadows of the clover and the fern. The light show does not end with a sudden flicker of a switch, but rather through a graceful, lingering withdrawal. It is a slow thinning of the light. The vibrant neon greens and warm golds become sporadic. One spark appears near the forest edge, then a long, peaceful silence. Then another single flash, high in the branches, like a lonely star blinking before it sets. This gradual fading is nature's way of winding down, a visual lullaby that mirrors the way your own thoughts are beginning to thin and drift. The complexity of the world is being stripped away, leaving only the essential stillness of the dark. As the biological lights grow dim, the environment is handed back to the steady silver influence of the moon. The moonlight doesn't flicker or pulse. It simply is. It washes over the meadow in a constant cool glow, turning the damp grass into a field of silver needles and casting long, soft shadows behind the trees. The contrast is deeply soothing. The frantic energy of the fireflies has passed, replaced by this ancient, unwavering light that has watched over the earth for billions of years. The world feels larger now, more expansive, and infinitely more quiet. The air is cooler now, the humidity having settled into a heavy blanket of dew that clings to everything. The sea sparkle of the ocean and the foxfire of the woods are all tucked away in their respective corners of the globe, resting and recharging. The great chemical reactions that powered the night are subsiding. In this deepening quiet, as the world prepares for the eventual arrival of the dawn, there is a profound sense of completion. The light has done its work. It has guided the hunters, protected the vulnerable, and allowed the silent conversations of the dark to take place. Now, it is time for the darkness to reclaim its territory. You can feel that transition in your own body, a sense of having reached the end of a long, beautiful journey. The sparks have flickered out. The embers are cool, and all that remains is the soft silver light of the moon and the invitation to let go completely. We have traveled through the depths of the sea and the heart of the forest, following the trail of living light, and it has led us right here to this moment of perfect, unadorned peace. The science of the glow has told its story. And as the last few sparks vanish into the trees, the story of the night begins its final, silent chapter. As we reach the end of our journey through the world of living light, take a moment to appreciate the vast, silent network of life that continues to glow even as the rest of the world slumbers. Somewhere in the crushing depths of the midnight zone, a jellyfish is pulsing with a soft, rhythmic blue light. In a damp, ancient forest, a cluster of mushrooms is casting a steady emerald glow onto the mossy floor. And in a quiet meadow, the last few fireflies are settling into the tall grass, their tiny lanterns finally dimming for the night. This hidden radiance is a reminder that even in the deepest shadows, there is a gentle, persistent beauty, a cold light that requires no fire, creates no heat, and asks for nothing but the stillness of the dark to be seen. Now, let your mind drift away from the deep oceans and the sun-drenched meadows. Bring your awareness back to the space around you, to the sanctuary of your own room. Feel the weight of your body as it sinks deeper into the mattress, supported and secure. Notice the way your limbs feel heavy and warm, as if gravity is a soft, comforting blanket pressing you down into a state of perfect rest. The air in your room is cool and still, a stark contrast to the humid summer night we imagined, and it carries a sense of profound quiet. Focus on your breath for a moment. Feel it moving in and out, a slow and natural tide. This rhythm is not unlike the pulsing of the sea or the synchronized blinking of the fireflies in the trees. It is the basic chemistry of life working quietly and efficiently to bring you peace. You are part of that same natural world, governed by the same elegant laws that allow a creature to create light from within. Just as the firefly eventually tucks its wings away and the glowing bacteria settle into the marine snow, your mind is now ready to set aside the curiosities of the day. The science of light has served its purpose tonight. It has guided us through the wonders of luciferin and oxygen, through the mysteries of the deep sea and the magic of the forest floor. It has shown us that the dark is not a void, but a canvas for something extraordinary. But now, that light has led us back to the most natural state of all, the peace of the dark. The stories of the glow have faded, leaving behind a tranquil silence that is ready to cradle your dreams. The world is quiet now. The sparks have vanished, the neon waves have calmed, and the silver moonlight is all that remains. You are safe, you are warm, and you are deeply, beautifully tired. The journey is complete, and the wonders of the living light will be there waiting for you whenever you choose to return. But for now, there is only the stillness, the softness of your pillow, and the invitation to let go completely. Sleep now in the gentle embrace of the night. Good night.